The evening at Utah Valley University was supposed to be another charged but peaceful event where students and community members gathered to hear conservative activist Charlie Kirk speak. The atmosphere was intense but typical for such a political event, with debates expected but never violence. As Kirk began his remarks, however, the situation changed in an instant. Witnesses described a sudden loud crack echoing through the auditorium, followed by screams and a rush of confusion. At first some thought it was a sound from the microphone or a disruption in the system, but within moments it became clear that gunshots had been fired. Panic set in quickly as students ducked behind seats, and staff rushed toward the exits to guide people out. Security teams immediately surrounded Kirk and rushed him away from the stage as blood could be seen on his clothing. Reports indicate multiple shots were fired before the shooter fled, leaving chaos in his wake. Students described crawling on the floor, clutching their friends, and the sound of shoes slamming against the floor as hundreds tried to escape. The auditorium, once filled with energy and debate, turned into a scene of fear and disbelief in seconds. In the moments after the gunfire, campus police and local law enforcement moved swiftly to secure the university grounds. The area was placed on lockdown, with officers sweeping hallways and classrooms to ensure no further threats were present. Emergency services arrived within minutes, loading Kirk into an ambulance as attendees gathered outside in shock. His condition was described as critical as he was transported to a nearby hospital. Many who had been present were left shaken, with some crying and others frantically texting family members to say they were safe. News of the incident spread almost instantly on social media, sparking a wave of reactions and speculation across the country. Political figures and commentators condemned the act, labeling it an attack not only on Kirk but also on the principle of free speech. For Utah Valley University, the focus shifted from hosting a national speaker to dealing with the aftermath of a violent tragedy. Within hours, media vans lined the campus perimeter, while students lit candles in small gatherings to show support for the victims. What was meant to be a night of political discussion had instead become the start of a national conversation on safety, extremism, and the deepening divides that continue to shake American public life. Investigators worked through the night to piece together what had happened inside the auditorium and to determine who was responsible for the sudden outbreak of violence. Within hours of combing through surveillance footage, eyewitness testimony, and digital evidence, authorities identified a suspect, Tyler Robinson, a 27-year-old man from Utah County. The name quickly circulated among law enforcement networks, though officials were initially cautious about making it public. What pushed the investigation forward was the statement of a family member who told police that Robinson had discussed Charlie Kirk's speaking event at Utah Valley University in the days leading up to the shooting. The revelation gave investigators the missing link they needed to connect him directly to the attack. As details emerged, officials described Robinson as armed and dangerous, urging the public to remain vigilant and to report any sightings. This triggered a full-scale manhunt, with teams searching neighborhoods, combing through Robinson's known hangouts, and monitoring his social media activity for any sign of where he might be headed. Rumors spread quickly online, with speculation about his motives dominating the national conversation. Was this a politically motivated act, a personal vendetta, or something driven by deeper mental health struggles? Investigators remained tight-lipped, focusing instead on finding him before he could cause further harm. The manhunt gripped Utah, with residents uneasy about the possibility of an armed suspect still at large. The breakthrough came the following day when law enforcement located Robinson in Utah after tracking a vehicle linked to him. Officers moved in carefully, coordinating a strategy to prevent a confrontation that might endanger the public. According to officials, Robinson surrendered after a tense standoff, and he was taken into custody without additional gunfire. His arrest was immediately confirmed by Governor Spencer Cox, who used the occasion to both reassure the public and to call for calm amid a climate of outrage and fear. The governor acknowledged the emotional weight of the situation, reminding Utahns that violence of this kind tears at the fabric of civic life. With Robinson behind bars, attention shifted to the details of the capture and the legal process ahead. Authorities disclosed that he was being held on suspicion of murder and other charges, while prosecutors prepared the case. For many, the arrest brought relief, though it did little to ease the grief and anger felt by those who had been in the auditorium or who were mourning Kirk's critical condition. The nation watched closely, knowing that this was just the beginning of a longer and more painful reckoning. As news of Tyler Robinson's arrest spread, the country turned its attention to the voices of those most deeply affected by the tragedy. Charlie Kirk's widow stepped forward to address the nation, delivering an emotional statement that balanced grief with resilience. Fighting back tears, she spoke of her husband's passion for speaking to young audiences and his unwavering belief in the value of open debate. She urged Americans not to let violence silence discourse, warning that hatred and division would only deepen if people chose anger over understanding. Her remarks resonated with many who had felt shaken by the attack, offering a moment of unity in a politically fractured landscape. Political leaders on both sides of the aisle also weighed in. Some emphasized the need to protect public figures and speakers from threats, while others turned the discussion toward broader debates on gun laws and extremism. Across the country, vigils were organized, with students at Utah Valley University leading the way. Hundreds gathered on campus, holding candles and sharing personal reflections about how the night had changed their sense of safety and freedom. Social media lit up with hashtags calling for peace, while others called for stronger measures to prevent politically motivated violence. In Washington, lawmakers debated whether increased security for high-profile speakers was necessary, as many conservative figures expressed concern about becoming targets themselves. Amid these reactions, the focus remained on the victims and on the principle of free expression that had been violently disrupted. As the initial shock settled, attention shifted to what lay ahead in the legal and political arenas. Robinson, now jailed, faced an array of charges including murder, attempted murder, and terrorism-related counts. Prosecutors announced their intent to pursue the harshest possible penalties, emphasizing the premeditated nature of his actions and the broader danger posed to public safety. Investigators delved deeper into his background, examining online forums, digital records, and communications to uncover whether he had acted alone or had been influenced by extremist groups. Meanwhile, the nation entered a period of debate over how such an attack could happen and what it meant for the future of public discourse. Advocates for free speech argued that the shooting was a chilling attempt to intimidate speakers and audiences, while others pointed to the need for stricter regulations around firearms and political gatherings. The court proceedings promised to be lengthy and closely followed, ensuring that the story would remain in headlines for months to come. For Utah Valley University, the tragedy sparked discussions about campus safety and the role of universities in hosting controversial events. Nationally, the shooting became yet another flashpoint in America's struggle with polarization, security, and the balance between freedom and protection. Though Robinson's arrest closed one chapter, it opened another, where the pursuit of justice and the search for answers would dominate the national conversation.